Do you have other ways in which you get stuck?
Yeah. Let me see other ways I get stuck. So I think sometimes I'll get confused in terms of like wanting to connect and just make it a people pleasing thing, like just focus on what the other person needs me to do or be. I think with my anger, I'll still get stuck. Like sometimes my anger pops up and I don't know why it's there. Um,
Can you tell me more about your anger?
sure. I think there's a couple of different things that I think is going on. One is like I almost feel like I shouldn't have it at times. Like I shouldn't feel angry towards this person I care about or angry towards the student I'm working with. I think another thing that happens for me is it feels out of control. Like I don't act within my values. I'll either withdraw or I'll get really confrontational and explosive. So I think I struggled with it for those reasons.
And you're saying struggled in past tense. So what do you, when you're relating well to anger, what are you doing?
I think it's finding out why it's there, like trying to be curious about why it's there. And then if I can figure that out, then that provides some sense of relief. And like I can feel like, all right, well, what can I do for that thing?
Give me some examples of why anger is typically there for you.
I think when I feel disrespected, it's there. I think if somebody's not validating my opinion or not allowing me to like take up space, like in a room or something, I think that's when it pops up for me.
Mm-hmm. And then when you notice that those are the underlying triggers for your anger, then what do you do with that understanding?
Then I think of like what would be most appropriate to do in this scenario. Sometimes that's maybe focus on something else or maybe confront that person um, or walk away from that person.
Yeah, all of those are really good solutions. And in any given moment, you're like choosing between them dynamically.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that's happened for me is more nuance. Like I think I used to just approach anger of like, well, I got to explode or I got to withdraw, depending on what feels safer. And I think there's more nuance to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. What helped you get to a place where you had some nuance?
Being curious is probably I mean, there was a lot of things that happened to get to this point, but I think the biggest one is being curious about why it's there.
And how did you develop? I really like that answer. How did you develop curiosity towards your experience?
I think it was just translating what I learned in other parts of OCD to this. Like another part where I had success, it was about being curious. Why do I feel this way about contamination? Or why do I feel about this way about whatever it might be? Like having success doing that and then transferring that over to something I struggled with more like anger.
Yeah, that's great. Can you talk more about your curiosity towards OCD and maybe social anxiety?
I think that's the only thing that I found works for me. Um, like whenever I try to judge it or kind of ignore it, doesn't really work for me. But when I'm curious about what's going on, then like it kind of broadens my options.
Some people head towards challenging it or kind of going towards it with, um, yeah, I think challenging it is the best, like on the offense. Would you say your curiosity is also on the offense, or how do you balance challenge versus curiosity?
I think I only challenge it once I know why it's there. Like for my nerves of like doing an event I care about, I can challenge that like saying, "Oh, my values are these. That's why I want to go to the thing." And that's the way I'll challenge it for me. But I won't challenge it before I know what it is.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I think if I challenge it like before, like, "Oh, why am I feeling nervous?" and it just I don't fully understand what's going on, and I just kind of get in this loop of like almost arguing with myself.
Yeah, that's a great point. So challenging it under some conditions just leads you to then talk back to yourself. And the other thing that I can imagine is that challenging it could be relatively invalidating if you're not sure what's happening. And what you're saying about nuance, that like depending on the reason that you're feeling whatever feeling that you're having, your reaction may be nuanced. Sometimes just stepping back is the right thing to do. Sometimes being assertive is the right thing to do. Sometimes having compassion for yourself is the right thing to do. So you kind of have to know what's happening in the first place to know how to respond.
Right. Yes.